force it in and you swallow black words and cheap goodbyes. I'll burn it all just to light your eyes. Skin tight rewards and vendetta, ground zero in a desperate life. I love the violence between your thighs. Bring it down to the wire. Parasite, oh messiahs. Set them all
Good evening all and welcome to another episode of Unikrn TV as we go into the last game of today for WCA Chinese Counter-Strike action.
Gas was actually in drop zone here with a smoke.
He nearly gets the kill and he's got to be careful, he loses his head.
Maybe a 3-point. Fix your T side, yeah, A, the all more.
We'll be back tomorrow as we are every day, 5 days a week. Training to deal with, who's going to see, oh my god! Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Unikrn TV. It's been a while since we've done the show. We've had a lot going on between our own Counter-Strike tournament, having other tournaments in here, including the Dota 2 coverage we did as well from the Unikrn TV studios. But it's good to be back and we have a very special episode ahead of us today, featuring all on the DreamHack Masters Malmo, which is going on right now. As always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, co-commentator, the other British man to the side of me. It's George Hoskins, aka Huds G. We're back. We're on our magical couch. We're looking fly.
It's been a
white
while.
Guys. Oh, it's pretty fly for a white guy. Almost. How are you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a while since we've done this show, so looking forward to getting back into it. Obviously, we've been doing the casting, as everyone knows, the Australian Showdown. That was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about DreamHack.
Well, yeah, it's DreamHack Malmo. $250K on the line. 16 teams, 4 groups, a lot of Counter-Strike action. But the bit we're going to cover off first for you guys is just how actually crazy the CSGO scene has become, in the sense that most of the top teams have changed in some way, including our major champions. Gambit, losing Zeus, losing Kane. So I think that's the best way for us to start here. So Zeus has gone. He was the in-game leader. Kane the coach. They came as a duo. I wasn't sure how much personally I bought into that whole situation, but it happened. Zeus went over to Na'Vi and Gambit bring in Fitch. Now, yes, he's a standard and he's a trial, and we've already seen from their result, which we'll recap all of these games, guys, but we've seen from their result that, okay, they've taken the first win against the Mouse Sports that doesn't really impress me as an entire lineup, if I'm honest. But you look at the Gambit team, and one thing I think people can't forget is they would have learned so much from everything they had from Zeus. That doesn't just fade away. It doesn't just go away. So you can't underestimate him.
The key thing about Gambit right now is that if Adren is going to be calling, like already in his first game, he dropped 11 frags, right? So that's not the Adren we've seen throughout the year. He's been a guy who's been on top of all the scoreboards.
Yeah.
He's been leading the way for Gambit, right? And that's because Zeus was obviously leading them. Now, the key thing for Gambit is that Fitch is going to have to step up. And he already did in the first game, 23 frags. But it's like, how long does that last, really? They played Mouse Sports. Mouse Sports, for me, are just like, it feels like they just took anyone that they could get hold of and be like, yeah, you'll do.
It was like okay, let's destroy Penta, who are obviously on their way up the ranks, and let's see what else we can do damage-wise and try and limit a bit of damage to ourselves, but not actually replacing the problems in Oscar and Chris J, who, while they were fantastic players, this current lineup doesn't make sense. It's
just too much of a mishmash, and trying to have a solid leader in there. I'm just not convinced by the Mouse Sports lineup. Yes, Sunny's very good. I mean, him coming in and obviously Sticko, Hellraisers, but why not try and get someone like Angel, or if you're going to do that, you know, it's all a bit, You can't rely on Oscar to go off to win games, or Rops, for example. Very talented players all round, but you can't, in this form of Counter-Strike now, in this new meta, you can't rely on that, unfortunately. I mean, look at Fnatic.
Yeah, exactly that. Now, guys, I am looking at chat throughout all of this, so let us know your opinions on all these roster swaps as we're going through, and we'll try to engage you throughout all of it. Now, the next big one is going to be FaZe. So, Alu, Kiyu, see you later, you've gone. You bring in Guardian.
The problem.
Yeah, supposedly the problem. But Alu, I feel like he kind of got the short straw. There wasn't anything on his performance-wise that I'd say he went. But from my bit of interaction with the team when we were at ESL 1 and what I saw from Carrigan, I think that maybe Alu, in his very relaxed style, they just didn't quite care about him as much. Like, because, not the sense that, like, he wasn't the right personality, but he doesn't really have that kind of right attitude, atmosphere at times. He's so laid back, sometimes maybe against himself. So seeing him go and seeing Guardian go in, as long as Guardian can perform in this team and he's utilised correctly, I think that's the great decision for him. Now we come to the other side of things, and you look at Olaf. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, nah, he's not going there. Like, you can't believe that. But it happened. It made it might work here for them. But I just don't know. I don't really see. I almost feel like this team is going to be either we need to do a couple of events and do really well, or that's it, we're done and dusted. Because there's no loyalty, surely, between these guys. This is a crazy team.
The thing with FaZe is they got a very good leader, right? So Carrigan, he's there. He's kind of the building block for everything. He's like your Zeus, but one of the very few leaders like that stature still left in CSGO. So he can lead these all-stars. As long as he can control them, he can lead them to victory. And Olaf, he needed a change. I mean, he went from the best player in the world at one point in Fnatic just to struggling in performances after his injury. Pretty much same as Guardian, one of the best, if not the best AWPers at the time. There was always a power struggle between him and Simple for the AWP. It made sense, but I feel like everyone kind of came off good from that phase. Ali's gone to Optic. I think that was a good choice for him. He'll be able to shine there. I think he'll enjoy
playing with Freiburg again as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt he got a bit unlucky in NIP, to be honest, when he got removed, because they did well. They went all the way to that second place, and then, yeah, just something weird happened there. And then obviously, yeah, he went back to Ents, and that was just a big question mark, Finnish team, and then finally found his way onto FaZe. And let's not forget, they finished top 4 at most, like, pretty much back-to-back events.
Yeah.
So it made sense in the way that, yes, now they do have more firepower, but in terms of underperformance, they only really flopped the major. And, we'll see. We'll see it later on.
Yeah, well, that game is going to be going on right now. We'll keep you guys updated if you are watching at the same time as well. We'll be giving our odds on the games that are coming up as well, and our famous odds breaker at the end of the show. Well, towards the end of the show. There's a lot to recap here, and we'll be doing this every day, guys. So if you're not seeing this before, you like what you're seeing from me and George here, make sure you drop a follow. Make sure you check out what's going on, because this is a segment we love doing. It gets us a chance to talk about it all. My last thing I'm going to say on the FaZe subject is I look at this as, if Guardian and Olaf is their last team or last big pro team, this is a nice payday for them. This is a good retirement fund. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's pretty much it for now. In terms of them as players, it's their sort of not last. Well, yeah, I suppose you're right. It is their last ditch saloon. I mean, they need to find that performance again. If they're able to do it, that team will be very successful. If not, like you say,
that's what I mean. If it's sorry, that's another thing to point on. If it's not successful, then this is the retirement team. Yeah, this is basically like the graveyard for him. If it does really well and Carragher makes it happen, which is always a possibility, then props to him.
Yeah, they've got everything behind them now to make it work. Yeah. So if they're not able to make this work, then yeah, where do you go from there?
Now, continuing on from the Gambit side of things, Na'Vi. Obviously, Guardian went to FaZe. Zeus has now come back into it all. Zeus deemed as one of the greatest in-game leaders we've got. So much experience when it comes to Counter-Strike. Can he grab the Na'Vi guys together and make Simple work? Now, they've proven it so far, but it was against VP, and we know how up and down VP can be. There's not too much to say on the whole VP side of things, and obviously we will recap the game shortly, so we're not going to go too much detail now. But as this, on paper, this roster is make or break, because if this can work, Zeus is proven that he can control even Simple and stuff if he is the problem, obviously, the toxic side of things.
That's the big question mark. I mean, he's very loose cannon. He's only 19, I believe. You already saw him call out Guardian when Guardian was at the organization on Twitter. He doesn't mince his words, and he's been fined several times, as Na'Vi said themselves in an interview. So
he doesn't hold back.
But he's very talented, and Zeus, he's not going to mess around. If Simple, I think Simple will be sooner to be kicked than Zeus, like if it doesn't work. And we already saw from the first game, Zeus has come in, laid down the law. He's playing that very slow style, the same style that won Gambit the major. Game map control, wait till 20 seconds, then execute a tactic, make the other team make mistakes, use utility. Worked perfectly in the first game. VP, I think they're at the end of their... yes, they've signed 4-year contracts, but I think that's the end. It's coming to the end for some of them.
Don't go too far into these games. Yeah, don't ruin it, Josh. Come on, hold on to some of this information. I know you want to talk. I know you want to get it out. One last thing on the whole Na'Vi situation is I love the fact that both Zeus and Simple's mentality is like, we want to be on Na'Vi, we want to make it work, despite me maybe not so much agreeing with the whole Zeus going over to Na'Vi. Now, next team, North. Magis Boy, the man that everyone hyped up, talked about. Maybe not the craziest fragger in the world, but a solid player, and you could always rely on him. Valdi, the man who sat there, and everyone was like, he's either going to go to Astralis or North. Because when he first left, all right, we were like, oh, okay, we might see you go to an American team and you do really well, but generally American teams don't do well. You just help boost up their numbers and their performance. But what we saw this time round is he waited for so long. He waited for that opening. He knew one of these teams will eventually make a change. And this time it was North. He came in. And my God, is he such an amazing player. 30 frags in his first game.
Well, he's just a very impactful player. High fragging ability, raw skill. I'm not really sure what went on with the whole heroic situation. I mean, I can only imagine like Henrik Fetish, he came in as coach. Maybe there was an internal conflict there because looking at this game, you can't really say it was down to skill. Cloud9, okay, they look a little bit. We'll talk about it in a bit. But Valdi, we can say 30 frags, multiple 3Ks. Great debut.
Yeah, great way to stand out and make yourself known and scream your name as it be. Now, Cloud9 is the next one. Shroud and nothing. Shroud is living the life, living the dream. He literally quit. That's it, lads. Full-time streamer. Let's go. 1K subs in one day, 40K viewers, made everyone else look really small, and plays PUBG pretty well. That I know is a game you love. Nothing, on the other hand, he said he kind of saw it coming on his video. He was like, I kind of expected it. He's got some plans for the future. He doesn't seem that bothered by it, but I don't want to see him retire. I think a player like him, maybe not as a coach, but maybe a team on a lower down, like North American level, still the top tier, because it's quite easy to be in that top tier of NA, but he could help a team so much with that all his experience. He could be so impactful for a team now he's gone.
Where does he go? He's got some options still left in America, like Nafly. He's without a team. Nothing could maybe team up with him if he wanted to.
Build something.
Yeah, build something together. But Shroud, I mean, quickly touch on him. There's not much really to say. He quit professional CS, which is stressful at the best of times. He's sat now on 16K subs. Potentially racking in, I don't know, like depending what Twitch take, maybe 60,000 a month or something, and then you've got sponsor endorsements on top. Like, I wouldn't be worried about playing CS:GO. Like,
I think he's happier, which is a crazy thing to say. Like, he's obviously put his time into CS, everything's gone well, he's done it. He knew his time was getting to that point, and stream was always something he could fall back on. He enjoyed, and yeah, props to him. He's made it work. But the question is, Rush, super experienced, very solid player. Tariq, come from the same team, they work well together. But this team, I don't really know what they're going to do, because Cloud9 was up and down at the best of times, but now you've got basically 3-4 members on that team that can sit in the same role. There's no real like prime man who's going to stand out every time, because Stewie was normally the guy I looked to be like the crazy fragger at times, pull off the awesome clutches, really smart play, but they've got him in-game leading. Maybe Tariq can take some of that pressure off him with the in-game leading and help even it out a little bit, but I feel like this team still lacks something.
Yeah, a proper leader would be one of them. Stewie's an entry fragger in my opinion. He's an insane player. Skadoodles are very quiet at the best of times. It's just a bit of a mishmash. They've tried to put together an all-star team with a lot of solid players. I mean, Tariq, in his first game here, has played amazingly, but you just saw they just look very disjointed, trying to execute on sites. Just no real clear game plan, and that's going to be something they struggle with moving forward. I mean, at least with the old Cloud9, Rusty, you had nothing was kind of that figurehead with experience. He could kind of not lead the way, but, you know, guide people in the right direction. You got to remember, Stewie is still young. Like, to be leading a team in big tournaments is a massive pressure when you're that age, and it's how do you deal with that?
Well, I spoke to him at the major, and he was so far his head down. Like, he said he had some personal issues and stuff as well, which is obviously something that can easily affect us, but he was literally unhappy, unmotivated. He wanted to find a way back into the major almost. Give me one more shot, give me one more chance. But best of luck to him going forward. Best of luck to him in the future. We'll see how it unfolds for him throughout this tournament. Fnatic now, though. Obviously, Olaf, he disappeared, went off to FaZe to go and rack up that Skrilla, sat there like this the whole way through. And Dennis, finally we get rid of Dennis. That's good. I have nothing against Dennis. Personally, I think he can be a great player, but Fnatic was not the place for him. If anything, I felt like he just kind of sat there like plodding along in that team. And now we get to add Golden and Lekro. Lekro, every time I've seen him, whether he's on Fnatic or Godsend, I loved his play. He was such a solid player that didn't look for the star performances, but always stepped up when it mattered. And then you come to Golden. We commentated him right at the beginning, didn't we, on Fnatic Academy, ESEA games. And this guy, so young, so talented, and he's the in-game leader at, what, 21 years old?
I think this is what Fnatic needed, right? They needed someone just to... Dennis can go. He's going to be just fine. Where in Godsent, his pistols were a massive reason why they were so dominant for so long. But right now, he needed a change. That was good for him. Obviously, you still got Crims in there, Flusher. People that will listen, they needed guidance. They needed a game plan.
You just said about the listening thing, and that's key, because I was sat there kind of thinking, oh, God, if they've got this guy young, yes, he's talented, but he's leading. If they don't listen to him, then we could see a whole thing of this falling apart. But we were speaking to one of our guys here, Robin, and he was very much saying to me, like, you can actually see that they are listening. And it's true. You can see it in how they're performing, in how they're approaching his new way of playing Counter-Strike.
Well, that's the thing as well. And Flusher will be there to kind of help him when tough times get tough. But he needs to be fragging, you know, Flusher, the whole mouse lift thing. He needs to be one of these players he's just one of these players that's like out there, fragging, doing his thing, and Fnatic needed to revise himself because their old style, their old meta of running around, Olaf getting entries, Dennis winning pistol rounds, it doesn't cut it in this day and age now because everyone's so prepared. Everyone's always making new tactics, new executions. So we'll see. Obviously, we saw their first game, which we'll touch on in a second.
I feel like the good thing about this is they're listening to the young guy, and also he's got a new approach to CS to kind of push them back into it. It's not like they've lost their way, but their old ways didn't work. Now let's push them into this new style with a young, motivated, hungry guy. Because that's what we always said about the academy guys from Fnatic. They are hungry, they are young, they are motivated, they want this. Now he's in a position to make it work. Now last team, Mouse Sports. They bring in Sunny, they bring in Sticko, and Sticko is an awesome, awesome guy. He's so happy for another opportunity here to push forward in Europe. He really wants to make his mark. But I feel sorry for him because this, to me, isn't the team to do it. Chris J, yes, you've got tons of experience, very skilled player at times, but is he the right person on this line? Him and Oscar are the two players I look at in this lineup and think, okay, maybe you get rid of Oscar and Chris J can use the experience side of things to help the guys like Rops and Sticko. Sunny, for me, is like got all the ability within him, but is this the right team for him now? Like, you saw what he was doing on Penta. I almost feel like Penta should have just been left alone to work on it a little bit longer, but obviously we've even seen HS has gone to Optic as well now. It's such a chaotic time.
For Mouse Sports, what do you say? I mean, like Chris J, last time we checked, he was in-game leading for them. I don't know if that's still the case or if Oscar's maybe taking some of the role off of him, but for me, it's just a mishmash team, like you said, and I'm not really feeling it. I can't really touch on too much. Oscar, when they win big games, when they went through, these tournaments that they've played with Rops, it was all because Rops ultimately was carrying in those games. He was making big numbers, and then if he wasn't, Oscar was coming through. When you don't have that performing for you, what happens next?
That is a question that we'll have to figure out and work out. I'm just making sure things are working on the betting side of things for us here when we come to do our famous odds breaker and place our bets and see if we actually have an agreement on this. But next up here, another thing that has to be touched on is the coaching rule. Now, George, I want to ask you on this side of things is the coaching rule came out of play quite a while ago. Valve said, no, they can't talk all this time. And players hated it, coaches hated it. Navi's whole roster got destroyed because of it. And then what we actually see happening is DreamHack has said, no, wait a second, we're going to bring it back. Now, me personally, I'm saying that actually DreamHack basically said, okay, Valve, you've not given us a major again. We keep wanting a major, you still stop giving it to us. So kind of screw you, basically. Flip the finger and say, we're going to put our own rules in place because this is what the players want and we care more about the players. I almost feel like it's that kind of scenario. But what I'm loving about it is the time and a freeze time on top of the normal pauses is the perfect balance.
Yeah.
He can't just sit back and cool the whole time, like what Na'Vi wanted, basically. But I feel like some teams are superiorly going to benefit from this.
It makes sense. Coach comes in, he can call the start of the round, he can analyze the last round, say what he's seen. Basically, guys, I think you should do this, possibly.
The buying as well. How many times do you sit there to me? So often when we're commentating, George sits there and I see him do this. And I see him get annoyed as well. They buy a crazy buy and he's like, that's just not the right call. That's when you need to execute this coach rule.
Well, I like it. I think it actually makes coaches effective again. Something you're probably going to see a massive change in, a team you're going to see a massive change in is NIP, because when Threat was behind them before the rules.
That experience, that
they were on that level, right, back then, and as producer again, like,
smash up the place.
I know we haven't done show in a while, but come on. No, but on a serious note, like, the coach rule is going to benefit teams like NIP. Obviously, Na'Vi with Kane.
Yep.
I think it's a good change. It makes sense. This whole 25 seconds rule we had before.
Yeah, 30 seconds,
Yeah,
3 times in
it's
a
just-
pause in section. Didn't work.
I just
We
don't
didn't like it, yeah. But I feel like VP, Navi, NIP, so many teams can benefit massively from this. Even Astralis, like, you may think they're a team that might not need it or whatever, but Zonix, the level of experience from him across the board from 1-6 days all the way till now. This is going to be very interesting. I think this is a rule that has to stay. Let us know in chat, guys, what you think of the rule, but me and George are big advocates of it, as are all the players and the teams throughout.
Just quickly before we move on,
It's fine.
There's one other thing about it, is that CS is one of those games that's always changing, and a coach can only do so much in practice, right? You can only practice so many amount of things, so he needs that constant input, and I just 2 thumbs up for DreamHack.
Same as, 2 thumbs up for DreamHack. There we go. It's the same as normal sports, right? You can practice and practice and practice, but when it comes to it, something might go completely wrong or different that you weren't expecting, and then if the players aren't prepared for it and they sit there and they start like literally falling apart, then that's exactly when you do need a coach to bring them back in and get things sorted.
Yep.
But now it's time for the recaps, guys. We're going to look at all the games we've seen so far today, bring you up to date to where it's been happening, because you never know. We might have actually seen some of you had to work today and not been able to catch all the games like we had the pleasure of doing. But we're going to recap the games, give you our thoughts and feelings, give you a bit more information before we come into our actual odds breaker segment. So the first game coming up is going to be SK taking on Boot. Now, me and George commentated a lot of Boot Dreamscape, DSN, and Joe, I thought it was pretty unfair of Henry G and Sadakis, bad Henry G and Sadakis. They said that, the only thing we can talk about this team is DSN. And it's like, that's not quite true if you've done your research properly, boys. Because, I'll be honest, this team, really solid. They do put the practice in. They're wanting to prove themselves. And they came through a region where you've got the Australian teams, for example, the Chinese teams like Tai Lu. They made this happen. They deserve to be here. Okay, they got rolled 16-2, but they're against the best team in the world. What do you expect?
Well, that's the thing. And we saw when they beat Tai Lu 2-1, it's one of those things that's not a fluke. They did it well. They're playing good CS. They just came up against SK on Mirage, and SK right now, they came off of losing that major. You know, they wanted to do that whole thing where they won so many tournaments back to back to back, and they were burnt out. And we're coming off an SK now that have had a holiday, and they're refreshed, and they're wanting to prove they're #1 again. Now, Boot, on the other hand, Moxie, he had a good game. He was making entries. It's just pretty much their end round play. Like, they're getting map control. It's just that end part. And I think, to be honest, Tai Lu, going back to that win versus Tai Lu have taken maps off tier 1 teams. So to say that the only thing you can talk about at DSN is pretty bad.
Pretty lackluster on that, right? Now, for me here, it was SK relaxed, feeling it, like you said, back from holiday. They rolled it. They made it happen. Fair play to them. 16-2 is exactly the way you want to start off Malmo. And normally SK, their first game's the worst. So when they saw this matchup, they probably thought, okay, this is quite nice for us. Now, the second game, Astralis taking on Renegades. This saw us go to train, and when I was watching it, Device, one-man wrecking crew, absolute beast. He loves train anyway, you know. Pulls out his AWP on train, makes bodies hit the floor. But you've got to look at Renegades and think, you spent all this time in America, which I don't agree with for you to practice if you're looking to try and get yourself better. You should be coming to Europe. But they've gone to America, they've tried to make things work, and they should have put up a better performance than that. Yes, it's Astralis. Yes, they're a solid team. But Renegades just looked lost. Like, you think if Boot Dreamscape managed 2 rounds against SK, then surely, as hell, when it comes down to it, that Renegades should be getting more.
Well, Renegades were one of these teams when they first kind of formed. They were doing all right at the time when they moved to America. Obviously, they had Havoc, Sponge retired eventually, and Yam is gone from there. And you've kind of lost all that experience, that leading style that when Renegades were doing well. And right now, you brought in Jay-Z Ballkings, which, okay, he's had some good performances over here in Europe, but it doesn't really make much sense. I mean, he's not been playing well. He's been -12 in this game. And it just looked all over the place. They went 13-2 down CT side. Their terrorist side was very lackluster. They weren't pop flashing places. They weren't even clearing their angles properly. There was one round, Device just sat and connects. The 2 AKs just walked straight out. Nothing was used.
No.
And to me, it just looks like a last-ditch attempt to save that lineup right now. I think if they're if they want to improve, maybe even consider bringing Havoc or Yam back. Obviously, Havoc's got his girlfriend in Australia. I don't think he'll come, but yeah, not much you can say about Renegades. Astralis, business.
That I just expected a little bit more from Renegades to give Astralis a bit of a hard time. And Astralis have definitely got a point to prove here. Now they've come back into this. They've not had a win in a little while. They obviously opted to skip ESL on to try and do better at the major. It didn't happen for them. This is where they're like going to come back into this and say, look, we are still here, we are still dominant, and we can take championships if we're not just going to let SK have it all. And I think that's what it's going to massively come down to.
Touching on that, what a prospect that would be. SK revitalised, maybe go up against Astralis, who Astralis
that would be the dream final. In how that works on the groups, that could happen as well, couldn't it?
Yeah, potentially. I think so.
Oh, will we see him in the semis?
My
though,
group
A and B. Yeah, I'm trying to because it's A and B. You might actually see him in the. Yeah, you might see it in the semis, which would be a shame. But we'll have to see how it pans out. You never know what's going to happen. It is Counter-Strike. Anything can happen. And as I say, anything can happen. Na'Vi versus VP next. Now, the thing that I have an issue with here is, admittedly, Na'Vi, straight away ban nuke, no problem. But why did they let Inferno through? Why did VP allow that to happen when you've got Zeus as now the in-game leader here for Na'Vi? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, even simple was like we weren't expecting it. We planned for all these maps, but we weren't expecting VP to let Inferno through.
No.
I think right now you just have to, all matches aside, I mean, Taz is the top performer in this game. He was actually doing right, but even then he's on 0.81. Like he's not.
Just to say, yeah, best rating of VP 0.81. Then Simple's there 1.84.
Yeah,
a whole 1.03 over his other opponent.
You can just see it in their game every time they lose a round. But Bialy's always done it, but he looks very depressed with the team. I don't know who's leading right now. It changes per event with them.
Yes.
And I think maybe this might be one step too far to come up. We've seen them do it before. They've had this terrible run online, terrible couple of lands, gone to a major, pretty much come second or won it. So what do you do if you're VP now? I think it's kind of, at this stage here, if they're not able to make this tournament work and they lose their next game, which I don't think they will, but if they go out early, I think that could be what's next for VP, right? Because they've obviously signed these long contracts. I think they've still got skill. I mean, Taz, he's rocking up at 31 now, I believe, or 30. Yeah. You know, he's still putting in performances and making multi-frags and doing well as a player, but as a collective, as a five, it's not working. Something's broke with them.
Yeah, something's not working at all here. It's starting to show. You almost feel a little bit like, okay, VP, we know you want to stick together. We know you want to keep that golden five, but how much more can you take? I feel like people can't go, oh yeah, it's because of Zeus. Oh, it's because of Kane at this moment in time. I'm happy to give them credit where it's due, but not just yet. This game was a bit of an easy one. This one, it was just Na'Vi reading everything VP did too well, and VP just, even on the rounds they had chances in where they started to build it up, their economy was too destroyed, and Na'Vi just knew they could break back into it.
Well, yeah, VP didn't know what to do with the map control. They tried to take early banana control. That didn't work. Then they tried
Did you see it? The dog, let's throw a smoke, let's push a little bit. Nah, lads, we're falling back. We just don't want this anymore.
That's the thing, and I think to sum up VP, it would be they've lost their confidence.
Yeah, the edge has gone massively. Now, this was actually the next most interesting game for me. It was North taking on Cloud9. Now, Cloud9, new lineup, like we said, a bit confused on where they might go, but it went 16-10 in favour of North, and it was pretty much only because of one man, Valde. He managed to make it happen. There was nothing else that I looked at what North were doing going, oh yeah, this is incredible performance. Valde clutched in the right situations, played it well, had a score way above the rest of his team, 31 frags he ended on. But the crazy thing about it all was actually where it came down to so many close rounds, North could have completely lost that. They could have bottled it.
Well, yeah, in Cloud9, you kind of almost think that one of the reasons it was so close because Tarek hit 31 frags and the rest of his team were a bit lackluster. I mean, they ended the half 10-5 going into the terrorist side, and that's where I go back to what I was saying earlier, the whole team play factor, their set executions, what they're going to do next. It all looked very all over the place. They didn't quite know what they wanted to do, and that ultimately cost Cloud9 in the end. I wouldn't say it's over for them just yet. Obviously, we're going to break down the elimination match in a minute, but for me, North, like you say, Valde, when they swapped over to CT, just domination. He was locking down quad side. Cloud9 were just running into just crossfires, and ultimately that was an easy game.
Do you want me to spoil a score for you here, George?
Did FaZe 16-0 them or something?
Nip won 16-8 by the looks of it.
Nip won.
See? There you go. Wow. And it looked like it was Nuke that got played. Just from what I just saw in the corner of my eye there, I could be giving the wrong information, but just from what I saw there, because this game started before we went live.
Threat, coaching rule.
Yeah, but you got to kind of give the edge there.
Hype around FaZe.
Now, next game, obviously, we've spoken about VP. Immortals taking on Fnatic, and this was the this was the most greatest game we could have expected out of this, because both teams gave their all. It went 16-14 on Cobble, and KNG was a one-man wrecking crew. He went absolutely ham, clutches all over the place. Fnatic, they were so far down, you thought it was going to actually be probably like a 16-8 loss or something like that for them. They fought back. They had it so close. But really, for me, it was the mistakes of Fnatic that stopped them from coming back. And if I'm honest about Fnatic, great team, but maybe their coach is probably the most lackluster out of all the coaches behind a lot of these teams.
Jumpy still. Yeah. For me, Fnatic, so Immortals, sorry, KNG, obviously 33 frags. I mean...
That's the best of the tournament so far, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And the thing for me, I looked on after the game, they didn't really look excited that they've won. Now, that could be due to the game or this whole rumor surrounding their lineup before, you know, KNG flying over to US and someone handing in their notice, and they wanted to bring in a liege because he talks Portuguese. It was all a bit mental.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Immortal should have won this easily. What cost them, or almost cost them the game, was they kept losing 4 spies. They lost about 3 4 spies. JW made a 4K with a Mag 7. They lost a 2-on-5.
Trust JW, by the way, just to say that. It's always going to be JW with some crazy strat like that. I know, guys, Mag 7, I can make it happen, and he does.
It was just more Immortals misplaying it than Fnatic having a great game. I'm yet to see what Fnatic can do in their next game. Immortals, for me, are they going to stay a lineup? I don't know. Can you believe the rumors? For now, we have to assume they are. They're here at this tournament. They've just come second at a major. They've won their first game. Okay, they scraped it by.
Yeah.
Why did Fnatic play Cobble? You know, that was usually their veto map. They actually removed Overpass, which they dominated SK on, if we would go back all the way. Maybe they're trying stuff new with Golden. That could be something he's implemented. New map pool. This is a fresh team. We're not going to go on what we used to do. Unlucky for Fnatic not to come back. Immortals, big question mark. Where can they go?
Where can they go indeed? Well, we're going to go over and see the Gambit versus Mousesports game. That's the next one for us to recap. And instantly, Gambit, yes, you don't have Zeus. Yes, you don't have Kane. But you still have all that knowledge. And my question here to Mousesports. Mousesports, if you're at home, please answer me. Why did you choose Train? What? Like, when I saw that map come up, I'm like, okay, Mousesports, what are you playing at? Do you want to give up your chance here at winning?
We've got to remember Gambit beat Astralis on Train as well to knock them out of the major.
This is what I'm saying. Like, yeah,
so
it doesn't make sense.
No, again, it was pretty much a tale of the same thing that we saw in the Renegades Astralis game. Mousesports, they just all over the place. Their executions weren't there, very disjointed. Gambit just fairly confident. CT half just locked him down. Fitch, like I said, he was all over the place. Bit disappointed in the Dren, 11 frags, but it goes back to what we're saying. I just feel, for me, it's like taking a Dren off that role he was doing so well. I think he's wasted as a caller. Why not? Like, if I'm Gambit right now in that swap, it's like, yeah, Fitch might be great, but let's try and get Angel or something. Let's keep a Dren on the fragging. Let's just bring in Angel for Zeus. That would have been, in my eyes, the perfect trade.
Now, for me, the biggest issue with this whole lineup is that I think that Gambit, they've got it all, but it's how they reinvent themselves. So you can go back to the stuff that you've been taught by Zeus and Kane and whatever else. You can go back to what you practice. But in the long run, when you need to evolve things or you need to switch things up, how's that going to work for them? But ultimately, this game was 16-6. Mousesports, we don't expect too much from them at the moment. Anyway, not the best lineup they've ever faced. But this was their chance, right? This was like, oh... And I feel like Mousesports blew it by underestimating Gambit. That's the only way I think they went, yeah, used to be good on Train. You know what? We're going to be better. No, Mousesports. No, like, I just have to laugh at the whole situation, really. Gambit, for me, is a team that people are going to once again underestimate, and they're going to allow them chances to come back into this. It's too early since they've won that major for them to be worried about what these other teams can strat them against.
Well, that's the thing. They can carry on the development of Gambit, right? They won the major. That's fine. They lose Zeus. Okay. Then all the teams have had a break. So there's not been a chance for the team to develop right. It's like you said, when it comes to evolving and people find them out, who's going to be there to do it? And I don't think Adran's the right person, but they won, and we'll see. But
we'll see how it all happens. We'll see how it all works. Now, this is going to be quite interesting, George, because I've got the game on in front of me at the moment, and it's G2 taking on Envious. What would you predict the score to be? Can you see the score? You can't you?
Yeah.
Okay, you can see the
12, James.
I didn't think you could see the score. But 14-12, G2 just edging the way forward on this. They are on Inferno, and it's an eco pistol round here for Envious. Now, for me, I always would have pitched Envy as the one that had more chance of taking this game.
G2 are all over the place right now.
They're just lost.
Key thing, everyone sees it. Shocks, stop in-game leading. Just go back to fragging, bring an in-game leader in. This is meant to be. This is pretty much the same situation you saw with the CIS shuffle originally, when it was like, Na'Vi are going to be the superstar team now with Simple and Guardian and all this stuff, and it was just very lackluster. Why? Because Caesar's in-game leading. Same thing on G2. Make an all-star lineup. What do? You make probably one of the best players of all time in Source, probably one of the best players, if not the best player at point in the world in CSGO, in-game lead. He's a guy that needs to be entry fragging, being led. At this point, maybe even bring back Existence. Okay, it won't happen, but you need to unleash him. And I think if they don't do too well this tournament, like I've just seen they got to 15, but I think if they don't get over the line, then something has to give with that lineup. And I'm not saying roster shuffles, but maybe try a different leader. Maybe they're doing it already. But Smiths, for me, as a coach, what could he offer before? I think maybe now he can offer more in the freeze time.
Yeah, exactly. That's another team that are going to dramatically benefit from that deciding. Now, I think what we'll do is to give us some more time across the board here before we go on to making our predictions, because when we come into the odds breaker, guys, that we always do, we're going to give you the odds on the games we know that's going to happen. But actually, we've talked so much, George, that this is going to give us a bit more time coming into this. So it's 15-12 at the moment, and it's a 3v4 situation with Envious with a one-man advantage, but you can't count a G2 out of it when you've got body shocks. I know you can see I'm enjoying watching this. It's almost like commentating over the commentators. People want the odds breaker, it's a world famous odds breaker, so people want this information. So if we can buy ourselves a little bit more time, it's only 20-7. The next games are going to be starting up. Then we can do our odds for Boot and Cloud9 and Renegades versus VP. And by the time we've done that, we might be able to give you lovely guys and girls at home more information for the next one as well. See? This is why we're trying to deliver the best quality odds, content, prediction, style, everything in this studio as we try to make it work, and it's gone 15-13. Damn it,
Is it going to be overtime?
Yeah, you watch. This is when it goes to overtime as well. For anyone watching at home, let me know who you think is going to go forward with this. I personally think G2 should be able to close this out and easily just pick up one more round. They've still got a decent amount of money to work with there. Kenny's on the orb.
The thing is, I saw Envious, they were 6-1 up.
Oh, really?
When we came in to get ready for the show, they looked good. I mean, they dominated the pistol round. G2 looked all over the place. It'd be interesting to see. I wish, is anyone going to hold the scoreboard up? I want to see how Shots is doing.
I got it in pretty low quality as well to watch with to start off with. Well, no, I dropped the quality down because I didn't want to be just burning bandwidth while we're sat here producing a live show, Got to think about them things.
So, PUBG.
So PUBG, yeah, great. We're not going that far down. That's deeper down the rabbit hole at the moment, George.
I mean, what game, eh?
This is the benefit though of us being nice chill out studio, the lovely cast, kick our feet up, watch some Counter-Strike, buy ourselves some time to go into this, find out the score of this one, give the odds on the next game, then hopefully we'll be ready to give the odds on the second one, give our predictions going into it. This is what we wanted. This was the dream scenario. And actually, this kind of setup is what Foreign and Semler are doing. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So what they'll be doing on Saturday and Sunday is actually they'll be basically having a chat, having a discussion over the games. Maybe like a mini commentary where you'll basically be able to watch the game from the main feed of DreamHack and then bring in their voices over top of it. So if you don't like the commentators they decide for the final, which I'm guessing is Hemorrhage and Sedeka's probably given the fact it's DreamHack. If you didn't like hearing from them, everyone's got their own favourite duo, then you could obviously listen to Foreign and Semler have a go. Now, Foreign commentating, I've only ever worked with him once when he was a commentator. And it is brutal. The man doesn't hold back at the best of times, and you can't really call it commentary more so than just chatting, abusing people, and showing them what's what.
I didn't get to hear any of his segments at Gfinity, but I imagine it was fruitful.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun. And now we've got it's Shocks and Kenny S in a 1v2 screams up trying to move his way, and the bomb's planted, but he goes down. It's going to be 16-13. G2 take the win, and we can bring you guys into the odds breaker. That is the way we do it. That is how things go down at Unikrn TV. We make sure we buy ourselves time. We make sure we involve some exciting Counter-Strike action. I can even do it without any sound, my mixture of commentary over the top of it. Wicka, wicka, wow. Just as George struggles to hold composure from my craziness.
I'm just thinking about my chili, my baked potato waiting for me.
Don't talk. I'm hungry. Don't talk about food. This isn't the time, George. God damn it. Boot, Cloud9. Now, both of us have got mixed opinions on this. I know that for sure. For me, Boot, we've commentated a lot of their games. We know what these guys can do. Cloud9, close game against North. Almost having the chance to make it happen. But the odds are 6.50 for Boot, 1.09 for Cloud. As a punter, you're going to go, you know what? America's pretty up and down at the best of times when it comes to Counter-Strike. Cloud9, new roster, might not do so well. Why don't you ever go on Boot kind of thing?
Well, if it comes down to Inferno or Cash, potentially, Boot's best map, Cash. I mean, it doesn't make sense to bet on Cloud9 here, really. Yeah. In my opinion, you're not really going to gain much from it anyway, unless you go all in. Really, would I go all in on that lineup right now? No.
No, not for Cloud9.
Boot, people are writing them off, but we got to remember they beat Tyloo to be here, and I think at that odds, I mean, I've already stuck 600 something, and I've got like 4K return. So for me, money. I'm going to go with Boot on this one. I know it's not. If you want to be really safe and just earn like a Unicoin, like a singular.
We'll do that actually. We'll bring it up. When it comes to bringing it up on the screen, let me make sure I get this ready. I'll do a comparison of what you could be able to put down. So I've got Cloud9 up at the moment, as we to bet on Cloud9. Let's just put 400 in. Oh! You get 36 coins return for that by putting 400 in. So if you just want to be 100% safe, you put in 5K, you're not even making 500 from putting 5K in. See, whereas you do it the other way around, so we'll get rid of that. We'll put Boot in. And we are at this point both going for Boot, right?
Yep.
There we go, Boot power. We got this. So we just put 500 in for Boot. You get 3,250 back.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to go Cloud on this. And I'm going to go with Boot. Just the simple fact that the Americans love to play maps like Cash. Cash,
if you're Australian. We've become Australian through our Australian Showdown.
And I think Boot, people write them off too soon.
Yeah, massively. Massively. So I'm thinking, just looking at that, 500 down, let's risk it. Risk it for a chocolate biscuit or risk it for a chocolate unicorn in this situation. You never know. 500 coins go down on Boot.
Yeah, I'm all for that, definitely. I think DSN...
Let's do a multi on this, actually. Yeah, let's go
for
the multi. Let's go for the multi.
DSN, you know, to quickly touch in on that Boot game again, I think he's going to be a key factor in that. Moxie, Splashy, as we saw them in the games we commentated, if they get started early enough and they win the pistol, they get the economy rolling, and then you give Splashy and Moxie the double AWP, I feel good for them.
Well, let's see how it goes. That's our predictions, guys. That's our insight into this. Let us know who you've gone with. Let us know who you've bet with. Cloud9 may be the sensible decision, but Boot, they're in it to win it. They're not here to go out and not win any games, and they've got 6.50 odds, which is why it makes sense. Place your bets, though, because not long until these games come up, and it's all getting exciting here in the studio as we get ready for the next game as well. And that's going to be Renegades taking on VP. A bit of a weird one again here, because for me, we have no idea how VP are going to do. It started off poorly for them. They're the kings of bouncing back, but Renegades... they need to prove that actually all this time they spent in NA is actually worth it.
I think still for me though, VP will take this game. If it comes down to Mirage or Train, you've got to favour VP. The only thing VP need to find right now is cohesion. They need to all be on the same page and just try and find their confidence again as well. It's like, if they get that back, I'm not impressed with the Jay-Z Walking addition. Not because he's a bad player, but because in this lineup, it's like joining a sinking ship, right, at this point. Do you know what I mean? It's like
way to put it.
If someone gave me a ticket on the Titanic and I saw it just hit the iceberg, it's just not worth.
I don't know how much money they would have paid him, but I'm just guessing he sat there going, "Oh, okay, got cool." Just destroy my notes. That's fine. Just got a couple of seasons here, and he's like, just casually.
Yeah, and they're still
Tapping
doing
away.
relatively well in America, but I just think VP are they're that step above still. They've still got class. They're still there. Yes, they're struggling, but they should be Renegades.
Now the odds are 2.80 for Renegades, 1.41 for VP. Let's bring on the bets. We're going for a multi here as well, yeah? So I put 500 down on Boot. That's our prediction there. VP, I'm happy to put 1,000 on that because I feel that little confidence in the Renegades lineup. 1,000 down will give us 1,410 return. What are we doing for the multi, though, George?
What would we put if we put 500?
If I put 500 in, they get 4,582.50 return. Now, the multi is very difficult because it does rely on Boot making it work. But first day back, I feel like raining down on 2K coins. Instead of Skrilla, we're dropping coins. We're dropping the Unicoins. We're throwing them all over the place. Ain't nothing but a thing.
Unicorn chocolate.
Unicorn chocolate would be a lovely thing. Stop talking about food. You're making me hungry,
I saw that
George.
in Lidl the other day, actually. Just in case anyone's here in Germany, Lidl.
Welcome to Germany. By
Unicorn
George.
chocolate.
So the bets are being placed. In total, we're putting down 2,000 with a possible return of 9,242. That would be insane. Hopefully it pays off. Let's place the bets. Let's confirm. The games are starting in about 13 minutes. And let me see if we've actually got a couple of the other games up just yet. Obviously, it takes some time for these traders to get the games on, make things happen, get stuff ready. It's not
For some reason, I just pointed the camera. I was going to say, and if Boot win and you didn't bet on them, then you should have been here. Because the comments will be pure gold.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would indeed. Maybe one of our producers can check quickly with some of the trading guides if the other two games are going to be coming up and added anytime soon. That would be pretty awesome for us to find out before we wrap up, as we may not have the lovely lower thirds and stuff like that, but I'd love to give you our opinions and thoughts on it. But let's discuss quickly. Let me get the actual result up. This is the beauty of working on the fly here. This is how we like to make it roll, make it rock. Let's see what the score was there for the NIP game. So it was 16-8, and it was Nuke. Now, we're going to have a look down the scores of how these teams work. Forest went Forest went 30 for 14 plus 16. Forest actually wrecked face. Draken's up there in second, 19-11. Get Right, 17-13. Rez dropped his on -2, but that's not too bad. Carrigan, a terrible game again from him. He went 9-20. That is what we're talking about. And that is some quick graphics from the production team. That's what I like to see. Nico, even Nico's up there. So your top 3 players here for FaZe Boys. This is what I'm going through. Nico, 18 for 19. Guardian, 13 for 18. Olaf, 14 for 19. Rain, 12 for 18. Carrigan, 9 for 20. It is, okay, Nuke's hard, right? We understand Nuke's hard, but still.
Yeah, I mean, Forrest, what can you say? His last performance is doing well as well. I mean, Draken, he's taken over that AWP role, right? So he's kind of unlocked Forrest, so to speak. I mean, Forrest just got married. You know, that's a massive emotional release. That before
I wonder where we were going with that there for a second.
No. Like, what I mean is, like, his performances before he get married, you know, that build-up where you're so focused on other things outside the game.
So he had a build-up and then he had an emotional release.
Yeah, then he had like a big release, you know, right on time when he got married. And now he's just making frags. I mean, he's happy. You know, goes home to his wife, 30 frags.
So a build-up, a big release of 30 frags all over the place, all over the face of FaZe.
And we're back at basically Dick Stacy.
Yeah, that's just the levels we've hit here. Now, other game, G2 Envious. I've got some of the stats and information across the board here for us. And look at this go. So, a very close game, 16-13. And you've got to give it up to Tane, our man of the moment, our graphical engineer, the genius who makes this happen very quick. We look down this scoreboard. Now, we expected this game to be close to French guys popping off against each other. We say French, obviously, Scream. The only one outside of that. But Apex, not normally a name you see right at the top, 24 for 23. Kenny S, 23 for 22. And Body always in there hanging about. MBK not doing too bad. Where you look down, it was Scream and XMS, the guys struggling for the Envious side. But it's Inferno. Both teams met each other so many times. They've fought it out countless times against each other. When you look at the head-to-heads, we've had 9 wins for G2, 2 overtimes, and 5 wins for Envious.
Could Keo maybe take over XMS's spot?
Ooh, that's actually a really good point.
He's still...
Because XMS is like the least comfortable player in that entire roster. Like RPK, bit of a legend. Happy, got it in him. Sixer, done it before. Scream on top of the world. XMS, you are kind of the odd man out of that lineup. Keo could just slide in and make it happen.
The key thing about that result is Apex having to go off again. You know, when he does well and he isn't emotional, it's one of those things that they do well. But look down who's at the bottom. Shocks. I mean, we're not used to seeing him have those performances. And it's like, it's sad to see, really, because he's still got the ability. He's one of the most naturally gifted players of the whole game throughout both genres. I don't know his 1.6 history, but yeah, I mean, G2, don't know how they're going to do ultimately.
Yeah, this like G2 for us was they need to come off guns blazing. They've done it against Envious. Let's see how their next matches go. Now, guys, we will give you just our thoughts on the next games coming up. We may not have the odds for you because we can't work just that quick yet. But do head to unikrn.com, place all your bets, place your unicorns if you're from UK or Australia. You're over 18, make sure you're placing your bets. And also, check us out on social media. I love it when this pops up. Check out all of our work. We're doing interviews on YouTube. We've got our Twitch channel for where we do this every day. Well, every day at the moment, and then commentary and stuff like that as well. But the game's coming up. So we've covered Renegades and Virtus Pro. We've covered Boots and Cloud9. Mouse Sports versus FaZe. Quick one for me and you, George. Let's cover it. Let's see what happens. For me, Mouse Sports ain't got a chance unless FaZe are completely rattled by getting owned by NiP.
FaZe... is the hype real? That's the big question mark for me. Mouse Sports, I don't think they've got enough to beat Mouse Sports, but that's quite a difficult one to place a bet on because, you know, I didn't think they would get blown out on Nuke like that. Maybe playing Nuke was a bit of a... I mean, NiP historically were one of the best teams ever on Nuke. I mean, going all the way back to 2013, they always locked it down.
They had it on lockdown early, like it was them chosen maps. So
maybe they just got thrown by the veto, something not expected. I still think FaZe will beat Mouse Sports. Mouse Sports, to me, look very disjointed. The only thing going for Mouse Sports is as if they kind of throw this away and go, okay, we've got nothing to lose. Rops, go wild. Oscar, go do your thing. You know, that might be the thing. But
yeah, maybe they play more relaxed and so less everyone stick to positions, everyone hold, more let's just go, let's just try and recover our previous loss and let's try and upset FaZe and completely confuse them.
The thing is what I said this in the major though. I was like, yeah, FaZe, you know, they're going to get through the groups, and then they went out without winning a game. So it's a bit, you kind of want to go with Mouse Sports, but I think FaZe have got enough.
I'd be happy to say FaZe as well. So we're both going with FaZe. That's our prediction on that game. I just don't see this current Mouse Sports roster able to make it work. Karrigan can surely bring this new lineup together and make something happen. At least one win here. They can't go out like this. Not like this, that kind of thing. Fnatic Envious is the next game that we will see today. Or the last game we'll see today for the DreamHack Masters Malmo. Now this is a bit of a tougher one because Envious, they've been on such a high. They've been having some really fantastic games, catching some of the other top teams off guard. Fnatic, though, this new lineup, the young talent of Golden in there, Lecro on a dream team as such. Can they do it? Can they push their way in? Can they pick up a win here?
The key thing for Fnatic here is going to be Golden leading them to this victory, and he's going to have to go head-to-head with Happy. I think
Happy nerves of steel, man.
Yeah, I think Envious probably this will be a step too far for Fnatic. I mean, they played good versus Immortals. They almost came back, but I think when you look at it, I think they've just got that little bit more experience. So I'm going to go with Envious on that one. Like you say, Jumpy, I don't really see what he adds to the lineup right now.
I think he is obviously a fantastic player on the... In terms of a coach, sorry, he's a fantastic asset as actually what he can do to the team, helping them with morale and stuff. He's been around these guys for the longest time, so they all know and respect him. But ultimately, I don't think on the fly he's the right person for them to have, you know, like with this new coaching role, specifically for Malmo.
Yeah, I don't think he's the right person at all right now. And Fnatic, even if they do lose this game and go out to 0-2, it's very fresh for them, you know, putting that amount of pressure on a young player to lead you, especially in a massive tournament against all these tier 1 teams. It's how do you deal with that? And I think they'll deal just fine, but I think at this moment in time, Envious are just that little bit more prepared.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier as well. The fact he is so young, this is a big stage for him, home crowd. They've got their lovely Fnatic Swedish jerseys on, the way to rock it, look cool and comfortable in your home crowd. But is it going to be enough? It would be the dream scenario for them to come through. What map would you think it would come down to? Just off the top. For both teams, which map would you like it to come down to?
I think we might see possibly an Inferno again.
Ooh.
That'd be quite nice. I think that would set up.
It's becoming the go-to map here. It was like at that point where it's like Cash and Mirage, and now we're seeing more Inferno creep in. More teams try to understand it.
I wouldn't want to see Cobble. Maybe a Cash, but I wouldn't want to see Cobble. The reason being is that Fnatic were vetoing it for time.
Yeah.
And I don't think going into an elimination match, you want to risk it, even though you've got a new leader, new team. Not worth it.
Well, guys, that is it from our first day recapping the DreamHack Masters Malmo. It's been a lot of fun. We've hopefully given you guys a lot of insight to go and place your bets. Go and check out all the action happening across the streams. We'll be back tomorrow, same time as always, 6 p.m. Central European summertime. So get involved. Come join me and George on the couch. A little bit more relaxed, a little bit more fun. And we'll continue to rock it and bring you all the action as the days tick on by here at the DreamHack Masters Malmo.
Good evening all and welcome to another episode of Unikrn TV as we go into the last game of today for WCA Chinese Counter-Strike action.
Gas was actually in drop zone here with a smoke.
He nearly gets the kill and he's got to be careful, he loses his head.
Maybe a 3-point. Fix your T side, get A, the AWP more.
We'll be back tomorrow as we are every day, 5 days a week. Training to deal with, who's going to see, oh my god!
Try to forget that you were here. Some part of me wants to disappear with you. My soul and all that I could afford. So only gonna fall into what you've explored.
have to know.